Hi, and welcome to January 2015 Planetary Calendar with Lonnie D'Amicus and
Carol Cherry. Wishing you a happy new year. It's exciting. We have Saturn has just moved out of Scorpio in the last week or so, and a lot of us are celebrating. I mean, Scorpio can be so intense and so life and death, and Sagittarius is much more optimistic and lighthearted. I think that the switch from Saturn to Scorpio is going to make a huge difference for a lot of folks. Of course, people with Sagittarius sun might feel the restrictive influence a little bit, but most of us are going to feel a lot lighter this year than last year. And as you said, it's got to be better than...
Well, and I want to say, as a Scorpio, I didn't like it at all. Mm-hmm. But I think for most people, that Saturn in Scorpio energy, you know, Scorpio is a water sign, mm-hmm. but it's rigid water, frozen mm-hmm. water.
And emotional,
icebergs
right.
and,
mm-hmm.
and, you know. So Saturn is already stiff and structured. Mm-hmm. And in Scorpio, there's no wiggle room. Mm-hmm. Whereas when Saturn goes into Sagittarius, you know, Saturn and Jupiter are buddies anyway. Mm-hmm. When it goes into Sagittarius, it gets the benefit of some of the optimism and flexibility mm-hmm. of his big gas giant guy friend that wears the plaid suit. So it definitely will be a better time of it. And I think that people who have natal points in Sagittarius, when they have Saturn coming past them by transit, that's often a little bit of a reel them in from too grandiose ideas or mm-hmm. reel them in from overextending themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, he works a little bit better in Sagittarius mm-hmm. than he does in Scorpio, a little more forgiving.
Well, and on the calendar we say, you know, Sagittarius says, I see. Scorpio is very secretive, you know, in many ways. And so it can be hard to see where you're going, hard to, like driving uphill when you can't see the road underneath you, you know, you're not quite sure where you're going in many ways because other people are keeping their information close to the vest, you know, and so but now with Sagittarius, it's a little bit more out in the open, you know, the leaves come down from the trees, the hunter can see the prey a little more easily, you know, and so that vision, you know, being able to have a better idea of where you're going is going to be helpful. And
well, let's not give short shrift to the lessons from mm-hmm. Saturn in Scorpio, because it really made you sort of dig down deep mm-hmm. and internalize and mm-hmm. sort of create the Saturnian plan that mm-hmm. comes out of all the depth of your thoughts and mm-hmm. emotions and, you know, things going on in your life that maybe you didn't want to have the courage to address mm-hmm. before. And so we talk about this lovely dance of the planets because they really sort of move step by step through the signs in order to help you move step by step through your life. Right. So as you've made certain realizations or you've really dug down deep, it's nice for you to be able to kind of put them into motion.
Right.
Because Jupiter is certainly an active planet.
Right. Well, and first of all, Saturn is about a structure. You know, let's talk about that as well. I mean, Saturn is about sort of the foundation. It's the father. It's a lot of you know, responsibility and the footing upon which we walk. And in so many ways, you know, there's a lot of us who are trying to be easygoing. We don't want to rock the boat. You know, but when it comes down to life or death, Scorpio energy, you know, I mean, then that need to survive, or I need to do this to be able to continue on, you know, kind of a thing comes to the fore. And that's such an important thing for us to have in our lives. It's just not easy to go through, you know. So I think that that's going to be very auspicious for us. The Saturn moving to Sagittarius is going to make, I think, the whole year, and Saturn stays in a sign for about 2.5 years. So I think that we're going to have much more light, you know, as far as the energy goes, you know. I mean, it's just not going to be as intense. It's not going to be as dramatic. And I think that sounds awesome. I mean, we still have Jupiter as retrograde right now. So, you know, we're not so much earning and growing on the outside as much. You know, it's not always great for, you know, you don't really want to start a business venture when Jupiter is retrograde, but it's really great for internal stuff. And the Jupiter went retrograde in early December, which is kind of nice. It allows the holiday season to sort of warm us internally, but once we get into the new year, a lot of people want to run right out and start making that financial strides with the beginning of the year. But Jupiter's going to be retrograde until early April. And so we're going to, they're still consolidating. They're still working on what we have learned and what we started with Saturn and Scorpio. I mean, it's not like a light switch and there's all roses in the garden. We still have to plant them and tend them and, make the new plans. So I think that by the springtime, we'll be able to, all of us, be able to really see and feel like we're moving forward in a very positive manner.
Well, and even though Jupiter is retrograde until April, now that Saturn has moved into the sign that Jupiter rules, that will give you an idea of how that motion can get started a little bit before it's ready to kick into high gear when Jupiter goes direct.
And that's a great point too, because Jupiter is in Leo, and so there's going to be a lot of opportunities for trines, harmonious aspects with lucky, expansive Jupiter and responsible Saturn. And so, I mean, that could be luck in career, that could be growth in your foundation and your base, in many ways. And so while it's retrograde for the beginning of the year, we want to be looking at, internal growth. So many people start the new year with New Year's resolutions. I mean, each of us has great new plans for the year. And so many people that I've been speaking to are looking at January 2015 as sort of a month of health, with Jupiter retrograde that sort of supports that, and for us to be, quitting smoking, doing yoga, drinking more water, limiting our excesses, and all of the things that frankly, we've been saying in our heads, oh, I got to do this. I got to take better care of myself. All of those things will get a leg up for this January. So make those New Year's resolutions. I mean, don't make crazy ones. I mean, there's reasonable and there's unreasonable. But, if we each day, take a few steps to improve our health and our internal growth, will be a wonderful thing for us to be doing in January.
Well, and January starts out with that lovely Gemini moon starting off in the morning. So, hopefully you'll feel younger and have a spring in your step and have some brilliant ideas for, and enjoy the children.
And you're absolutely right, because not only do we start it with the Gemini moon, but on the 4th, we have Mercury entering Aquarius. Mercury is Gemini ruled, and Aquarius is all about invention, liberation, and freedom. We could have some great ideas, new ideas about ways to handle our situations or ways to approach our life and our projects.
Well, and you mentioned the 4th, that's also the full moon.
So
bringing things to light, that really can be a good time. Opening up.
It really is. And the 10th is a circle day. The second Saturday of the month is a circle day. And that's a very good day to accomplish even complicated things, things that involve a group, charities, fundraising, but also, I would say, family. I mean, and what we're working on. I mean, some of our extended families are dealing with larger issues, and I think that that's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day for people to really start new things. So start in the new year, getting a rest, new ideas, come on that Saturday, bam, that's where, to me, it's really going to kind of start. But I don't want to miss the meteor showers on the 2nd and 3rd, the quadrantid meteor showers peak on January 2nd and 3rd. And, it's always lovely to have fireworks kind of for the beginning of the new year. And so I think it's so lovely and appropriate that we have that there.
Well, we do love our meteor showers. They were, they're always fun. Because then we have, on the 12th, we have Mars entering Pisces. Now, that's kind of a sleepy sign. That's not the kind of sign that Mars is usually too happy to be in. But, after the hustle and bustle of the holidays and transitioning into the New Year's, it's kind of a way to kind of kick back a little bit and recharge yourself and maybe start again with meditation or yoga or the things that fell by the wayside with the busy holiday season and changing into the new year.
And that's just what I wanted to say too. Mars in Pisces, that's energy for spirit, in my opinion, so being able to do yoga, being able to capitalize on that Jupiter retrograde and do the internal work. I mean, it's really leading us along in that way for January. And that's fantastic because, Mercury goes retrograde on the 21st. And so we're going to need to be able to keep ourselves at top condition, you know, rest and healthy and clear, so that we're not, you know, kicked to the curb once Mercury goes retrograde in Aquarius, because that can be surprising also. You know, you may want to make sure that in the beginning of the year, you know, that the first week or two, I'd say the first week, frankly, you know, make sure your stuff is backed up. If your engine light comes on in your car, check it out. You know, don't wait until the end of the month, because that could be very disruptive.
Well, I'm good that that Mars is in Pisces, because it gives you time to pay attention to these things. Just calm down, pull back, pay attention to things that are a little bit closer to yourself and to home, rather than running off in every direction to prepare for this Mercury retrograde.
Exactly.
Mercury has a good relationship with Aquarius, and so I feel that when Mercury goes retrograde in an air sign or a sign of its rulership, it's more difficult, because Mercury is like a little kid, and it says, I can finally act the way that I want to act. I can finally do the things the way that I like to do them. And then it goes retrograde. And it's like somebody holding a child's hand a little too tightly in the toy store.
Right.
You know, they can't touch anything.
Or buy
they
the
can't
wrist.
do exactly. So, you know, it has a potential. And of course, with Aquarius being prominent, you know, you think about things like the internet and email and communications and things like that. So again, all these classic Mercury retrograde issues in a sign where Mercury thought that it was going to be able to have a good time could be particularly difficult. So use the beginning of the month to...
I agree, and you know, when Mercury gets into Aquarius on the 4th, Mars is already there. So you've got both Mercury and Mars in Aquarius, which, you know, doing new things, talking about new things, things that you wanted to do, you know, might wind up being able to get some action. And then by the 20th, we have the Sun entering Aquarius. So that puts the self and our primary kind of creative, you know, life energy sort of in that Aquarius frame of mind, you know, again, encouraging us to try new things, to live differently, to think differently, to be different, you know, I mean, and I think that that's something that a lot of us could really use, especially again with the change of Saturn. You know, for many of us, for the last 2.5 that Saturn in Scorpio, we have kind of gotten into a certain way of being, and, you know, making sure, you know, and following up and having to research ourselves because we're not getting the information the way that we want, you know, but so being different, you know, as Saturn has moved is going to be a big focus, and for us to be able to allow that, you know, is really going to help. And certainly Saturn's change will help us to want to allow that. But it's very easy to get stuck into ruts and to not even really notice that you're stuck in a rut, you know. So a lot of January is going to be being open, you know, going to new places, hanging out with new friends, asking that person in the office you don't speak to very often to go out for dinner, or, you know, trying I don't know, rollerblading, paintballing, you know, I mean, just odd things that you wanted to do that you haven't had a chance to. This is a great, great chance for us to do that. And that's going to set the tone for the year. You know, when you start off the year ready and trying new things, I mean, the whole world kind of opens up in many ways, you know, and that will, you know, help us throughout the rest of the year, I think.
Well, and all that Aquarius energy with the moon goes into Aquarius on the 21st, or goes in on the 20th as well. And so we've got that whole new moon in Aquarius happening right there. And then Mercury also. And with Aquarian energy, I always think of electromagnetics because it really sort of amplifies that. So it's kind of a good thing that Mars is in Pisces, and that may be helpful, but people might experience difficulty sleeping when there's a lot of Aquarian energy around. So it might be an important time for you to think about electromagnetics in the bedroom, make sure the room is really dark. You know, maybe you need to supplement with some sleep aids like 5-HTP or melatonin or something for a short period of time. When you have that Aquarian energy, if you're very sensitive to it, it's best to plan ahead. It's
true, and you know, once Aquarius is over, things start going into Pisces, and Pisces is very sensitive. I would think even to the electromagnetics and things like that as well. So, I mean, on the 27th, we have Venus going into Pisces. So our comfort energy and is going into the sign of Spirit, and
Intuition.
dreams. And yeah.
Pisces is really activates the intuition.
And it can be very sensitive, you know, and with other stuff in Aquarius. I mean, Aquarius can be very sensitive too, you know, I mean, but so we just want to be kind to ourselves, pay attention to the kids, you know, I mean, the kids are going through these things too, and they want to try new things, and they have, you know, their new ways to talk or new things that they want to do, you know, and so we really need to just guide along gently.
Well, and we want to say something about the black box day on the 21st, because at first glance, it doesn't look like it should be. All those planets are well aspected by the moon. We've got Mercury and Venus and Mars and Neptune twice there. So, or Uranus and Neptune, I'm sorry. And only Jupiter is ill aspected, but you know Jupiter wants to be playing nicely with the moon anyway. But that Mercury retrograde at that time of turbulence with all that rest of that stuff in Aquarius is really the reason for that black box day.
Well, and really, again, black box days are not, what they are is they're good days to finish up old stuff. They're not good days to start new things. And that's because the energy is often unpredictable. You know, if you go with a plan, it's likely not to work out, you know, but if you're trying to think of a way to get old customers or to do something from before, you know, you've been wanting to clean out the garage, but oh, now suddenly you have this great idea, you know, you can donate it to Bon Marché or what have you, you know, the new thing, it makes it a great day to do old things because you're doing something old in a new way and may find different results. It's just the starting of new things that can be difficult.
Right, right.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. There's a lot of holidays, of course. On the 1st, we have New Year's Day, of course, but it's also World Peace Day, and that is a worldwide holiday. Every country, every religion, everybody does the World Peace Day, and isn't that nice?
Well, you know, Venus doesn't want to be forgotten here. On the 27th, she enters Pisces.
I mentioned, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
that's when the energy starts to get soft and gushy,
exactly.
And we're going to be sensitive. So what all of that Aquarius stuff we might feel more strongly once Venus gets into sensitive Pisces, I'm thinking. Don't you think?
Well, it could go the other way. You could feel a little bit more pouring oil on the bubbling waters because it might be a little bit more calming once Venus and Mars are together in Pisces. Could just tell you to just yeah, just tell you to, you know, allow yourself. I mean, Mars may want to kick back or need to kick back in Pisces. Venus says, oh, we deserve it. We deserve the time off.
And pours the wine.
And so, exactly. So, you know, I think that will let up some of the Aquarian tension anyway.
I agree. And when Mercury when Mars and Venus are in the same sign, I mean, here they're not too close to one another, but when they're in the same sign, I think romance and relationships go a little bit more smoothly as everybody's on the same page. You know, when you have one in gotta go, and the other one is gotta rest, you know, the men and the women don't connect as well as they might like. So
what fun is it for Mars to go to the beach if Venus isn't tagging along?
There you go.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's exciting. On the 30th of January, we have the Sun conjunct Mercury, which, you know, is a great time for people to want to talk about what they are passionate about. But it's not always an easy time to listen. It's funny because whenever this aspect happens, I mean, you could be talking to somebody. They just don't notice that you're trying to talk. They just keep talking. They just keep talking. And as frustrating as that can be to listen to someone, it's frustrating to be that person also. So as the month ends, we want to take extra care to listen to others. We don't have to be so forceful necessarily in expressing our opinions, but even if we do, we should at least be able to listen to the other side of the conversation
that configuration is combust, or Mercury is really sort of engulfed in the light of the sun. So a lot of times you'll find that Mercury can't really get their agenda out there, but because Mercury's so reflective, they'll reflect the agenda of the sun. So that's an interesting concept
There you go. Yeah, and the 25th, I think there's special interest also. We've got the moon in Aries, which has people wanting to do what they themselves want to do. But we have Uranus doubly well aspected that day. And that, with everything else, with other things in Aquarius, well, I guess by then even the sun's in Aquarius and Mercury's still in Aquarius, even retrograde. So that double good aspect there. And what that means really is that Uranus is playing nicely with the moon. So that might be an excellent day for new ideas or new ways to do things as well.
Yeah, it can give you the emotional sort of freedom to act out on your, I don't want to say irrational, but what you normally wouldn't do.
A wild hare.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And don't forget Martin Luther King Day is coming on the 19th. I know many of us parents are very happy to get our children back to school. In this area, they'll be returning on Monday, January 5th, but then they will probably have Martin Luther King Day off as well. So you definitely want to remember that and plan accordingly. Of course, there's no post office and banks on Martin Luther King Day, so and somehow I always wind up I'm sitting here, I do the calendar, and I go to the bank on Martin Luther King Day, try to open the door. At least I'm trying to help you out and warn you ahead of time so that you're not there with me. Yeah, and there's a lot of wonderful holidays at this time of year. New Year's in every tradition. There's the Buddhist New Year, Mahayana, on the 5th. We've got the Shinto New Year happening, special celebration on the 1st as well. We have World Religion Day happening on the 18th, which is also nice. I love that more and more January starts with all-inclusive. World Peace Day for everybody. That's how we should start every year, focusing on peace for the next year, and the World Religion Day honoring and celebrating all of the different traditions. And that's one of the things that we at Planetary Calendars try to do, and that's why we have so many holidays on our calendar, is because really the age of Aquarius is all about us being divinely connected. And what better way than to see the ways that people around the world celebrate and honor the change of seasons and the change of the year.
Well, and so as Ralph says in the beginning line of the forecast, for the monthly forecast for the calendar year, it says, on New Year's Day, take a deep breath and prepare for a raucous month. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of times when people ask us about a particular aspect or what's coming up, we say, oh, could be good, could be bad.
Yeah, that's
so,
true. That's true.
We love to tell you what the astrological weather forecast is.
Yeah.
And you get to decide whether you carry the umbrella.
Indeed. Since it's January, and so often January forecasts come with the year ahead, we don't have a lot of time for the full year ahead. So you'll have to join us each month and come and hear about each month as it happens. But I do want to mention that, of course, we have 3 Mercury retrogrades, as we do every year. The first one, January 21st to February 11th. The second one, May 18th to June 11th. And the third, September 17th to October 9th. And we keep that information right here handy for you so you can find it easily, all the retrogrades for the year.
There's a nice little tip about Mercury retrograde, and that is that this year, like most years, it is always in air signs. Mm-hmm. So we've got the first retrograde is in Aquarius, starts out in Aquarius, even though it backs up into Capricorn. And the second retrograde is in Gemini. So since that's a ruler, that's going to be a tricky one.
Oh, yeah, that'll be tough.
And then in September, the retrograde is in Libra, the 3 air signs. So that's kind of a rule of thumb. If it doesn't fall in a calendar year, it's because the third one was in the prior year or the subsequent year. Mm-hmm. But they always come, that's the timing of that. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that September is going to be a wild month for a lot of us. Not only do we have Mercury retrograde starting September 17th, but we have our second eclipses for the year happening right on my birthday, September 12th, and the second one going September 27th. I think that's going to be our universal final exams this year, friends. We have the first eclipses happening earlier. March 20th is a total solar eclipse, and April 4th we have a total lunar eclipse. And that's sort of the midterm, it kind of points out, well, I have found in my experience lately, it's really been kind of pointing out where the energy is needed in order to kind of survive. I don't want to say survive, but make the best use of, perhaps is the better way to say that, to make the best use of the second eclipse. And so that's going to be exciting.
So if we look at some of the other retrogrades quickly, Venus goes retrograde in July. But she starts out retrograde in Virgo. And Venus, of all the planets, does the best in retrograde motion because the Venusian energy is already internalized. So when she gets permission to really go in and not have to put on a show for anybody and just really do what she wants the way she wants,
honor her
and
own
especially in Virgo, the sign of the details, I don't want to say OCD, but you know, there's a lot of and Venus in Virgo gets short shrift because I think it's a lovely position. But it's not everybody thinks so. But so that's going to be a time for really going through the details. And of course, that retrograde goes all the way from July to September. So all of August, you've got that Venus retrograde.
You know, and Virgo is very often associated with health as well. So that's another indicator that this year is going to focus. I mean, there's a lot of folks who are focused on their health, certainly my friends, because we're all getting to be 50 and we're all getting to get to our Chiron return. And so there's that, you know, for many people. But again, with this Venus in the Virgo, there's going to be a reason for all of us, no matter what age we are, to take better care of ourselves, don't you think?
Yes, but I can't believe you did that to your mother. I told you, you have to lie about your age.
I'm excited. A half a century,
That's
a good old Carol Cherry, that's a thrill. And it's still 3 years away. I'm still a spring chicken. Yeah. Luckily, Mars does not go retrograde this year.
And Mars
That's
goes
exciting.
retrograde the least of any of the planets. So
lately,
yes,
he's been
thank
going every
goodness.
other year, and he's been spending 9 months in the same sign, which has been has been very difficult. But this year, no retrogrades at all, so that's wonderful.
Jupiter goes retrograde, and or it has been retrograde for a long time, and finally goes direct in April.
Well, it's from December 8th. Of 2014. So that's just last month.
So it will have
until
been,
April 8th.
Has a long retrograde ahead of it. And it goes retrograde in Leo.
Excellent. I'm thrilled because I've got Jupiter in Leo. The more time Jupiter spends in Leo, the happier I am. And the fact that it's trining, you know, Jupiter will have many opportunities to trine the stuff in Sagittarius, where Saturn is, and things. I think that can only help.
Absolutely.
Personally.
We got short shrift with Jupiter for us. We had a very short time in
Really?
Jupiter.
I thought it was about a year for each one.
I know, it usually is. We got about 6 months or less.
Before we go, I want to say June looks like a fabulous time to get married. Anybody who's thinking about getting married, we've got Juno and Jupiter conjunct in Leo in June. And I think that June weddings this year will be very auspicious. What do you think?
I haven't looked. I'm in January.
It's true. It's true. Well, I'm just saying. Jupiter and Juno will be conjunct for a lot of June, and it seems like a great time to get married, if you ask me. So if you're planning, think about June. That's all I can say.
And for more information or to watch previous episodes, you can always visit us at spaceandtime.com. We'll see you next time.
Happy New Year.